What happens when one takes the mark of the beast? After preaching a sermon on the rapture and the book of Revelation, a young man approached me and said, "It seems plausible to me that a man just like you are describing will come into prominence in the world. I can see it happening. With the way the world is changing, it appears plausible to me that a man like the Antichrist can take prominence and introduce his mark. However, I am not 100% convinced. But at least this way, if the rapture is real, and if I do miss it, I know exactly what to do, and I will ensure that I don't take the mark of the beast. And I believe this man is not alone. I believe that there are people who have a similar mindset to this man. People grossly underestimate the Great Tribulation and the intense persecution an individual will have to endure in order to not take the mark. The Antichrist system is not going to make people's lives pleasant if they don't take the mark, and further into this sermon, I will illustrate some of the Antichrist's methods to rope people into accepting his mark. Revelation 13:16-18. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
The Great Tribulation will be a time of extreme difficulty, far surpassing any calamity experienced in human history. It is a period that many, even among the most devout believers, grossly underestimate in its sheer severity and impact on humanity and the world. To begin, the Great Tribulation is described as a time of unparalleled distress. This isn't merely a period of heightened difficulty or increased challenges. It's a time when the very fabric of life as we know it will be shaken to its core. A time where the spirit world will interact with our natural world like never before. It is a time where angels that are currently locked away will be released upon the earth. It is a time where the wrath of God will be unleashed without limit. It is a time when the very gates of hell will be open upon this world. It is a time the world will experience cosmic activity like never before. It is a time where the very four horsemen of the apocalypse will ride upon the earth. It is a time where death itself shall flee mankind. It is a time where the two evilest men in history, the false prophet and the Antichrist, will rise. Never in history will the world have seen what it will experience during the Great Tribulation. We grossly underestimate the events of the Great Tribulation. The truth is, this underestimation of the Great Tribulation can be attributed to several factors. In contemporary society, with its comforts and technological advancements, the idea of such events and moral decay seems almost unfathomable. The human tendency to view current times through the lens of normalcy bias, where people believe that because something has never happened before, it never will, further contributes to the general dismissal of the potential severity of the tribulation. This is just what we are as human beings. We tend to believe that the world will go on like this forever, but our Lord Jesus tells us that the Great Tribulation is coming. Matthew 24:21. For then shall be the great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, neither shall be. Jesus called it the Great Tribulation, and so it shall be. There has never been any affliction of such intensity before. It will occur as the first and the last of itself. After the rapture and during the tribulation, the seven seals of God will be opened. The seven trumpets of God will be blown, and the seven bowls of God's wrath will be poured out against the earth. The Great Tribulation is so shocking that it quite literally changes the atmosphere in heaven. Revelation 8. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about the space of half an hour. Can you imagine all the innumerable number of angels silent? All the saints that are in heaven silent?
The first method the Antichrist system will use to enforce his mark is through coercion and persecution. The level of coercion individuals will experience in order for them to take and receive the mark is like nothing we have ever seen on earth. And a lot of people have a false sense of assurance banking on the fact that they won't take the mark, living with the thought that, well, if I miss the rapture, I will just refuse the mark and wait for the Lord's coming. Are you sure about that? Are you absolutely certain that you would have the resolve not to take the mark? Are you certain? It is easy to believe that I wouldn't take the mark when you have a job and are fed and warm and have health care insurance. It is easy to say that I wouldn't take the mark when you have the option to hop into your car and drive to your local grocery store and buy whatever you want. It's easy to believe that you won't take the mark when your family's future is not in the balance or when your bills are paid. However, in Revelation 13, Satan and the Antichrist system will be using real coercion. The Bible tells us that Satan will freeze people out from being able to buy or sell. In other words, he will stop an individual being a functional member of society. That right there is real coercion. Understand this about Satan: he does not have a moral compass. He does not have a code of ethics he adheres to. He doesn't have a line in the sand that he will not cross. He will do whatever it takes and go as far as he can in order to be worshipped. Get this notion and this idea out of your head that the devil plays fair. He doesn't. To say no to the mark will result in social isolation and economic isolation. Receiving the mark will be the norm during that time. And for you not to receive the mark, undoubtedly you will be looked at as strange and peculiar. There will be serious ramifications for not accepting the mark. It is easy for us right now in the comfort of our own homes or our cars or wherever you are under no pressure or coercion to look at Revelation 13 and to make the assumption that it will be a straightforward choice to not receive the mark. But when you are reading Revelation 13, you need to understand that these are real people with real lives who will be under real pressures. Big stakes will be on the line in Revelation 13. Real people will lose their ability to provide for their family for not receiving this mark. What do you say then? It is serious. Real people's lives will be at risk.
The persecution of Christians is nothing new. If you travel through the history of the church, you will find our Christian brothers and Christian sisters persecuted. However, the persecution that Christians will face during the Great Tribulation will be on a scale like the world has never seen. For a lot of us, we don't really appreciate what true persecution is. For those of us in most Western civilizations, we have the freedom to practice our faith, and because of this, we struggle to understand what real persecution is. There are places in the world where owning a Bible will land you in prison. There are places in the world where people have to have underground, hidden church services, and most of us do not know life like this. So we tend to take for granted the freedom to be able to have the choice to attend church without fear of persecution.
The second method the Antichrist system will use to enforce his mark is through deception and persuasion. There is something about Satan that attracts things to him. Satan is a liar and deceiver. He is double-minded. He is never what he appears to be. He is the adversary. He is the enemy. But one thing you need to know about him: he had the ability to allure a third of heaven's angels. Not human beings, but angels that would have seen the Lord. Now, what makes you think he can't persuade humans? He is a master of deception. We do know is that the mark of the Antichrist is a declaration of worship. It is a permanent sign of allegiance to the Antichrist. Worship is at the central core of the battle between good and evil. Worship is at the very core of it. The issue surrounding the mark of the Antichrist started long before you and I were created. It started long before Adam and Eve. Satan, at his very core, is a usurper. He wanted to usurp the worship God rightly deserves for himself, and the mark of the Antichrist is the point in human history where he will finally get his wish of being worshipped. Short-lived as it may, he will be worshipped by the world. With this mark, God does not play games when it comes to his worship. Isaiah 42:8, I am the Lord, that is my name, And my glory I will not give to another, nor my praise to carved images. Idolatry is anything that takes the place of God in your life. Your job could be your idol. You yourself could be your idol. Your pastor can be your idol. What are you exalting in the place of God? The Antichrist will exalt himself as God, that is idolatry. People will worship him as God, that is idolatry. Anything that takes place of God in a person's life is idolatry. And at the core, the mark of the Antichrist is not to do with buying or selling. It's not to do with control. It's not to do with anything outside of worship. Revelation 14:9-10 says, "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb." Worship is at the core. Although people who profess Christ will experience persecution during the Great Tribulation, the Bible reveals to us that there will still be people who endure the persecution and the coercion of the Antichrist.
Revelation chapter 20, verse 4, "And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their forehead or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. These are the tribulation saints. These saints are those that will be saved after the rapture. These are the great multitude that no one could number. These are the martyrs of the tribulation. The 144,000 will preach the gospel to the world. The 2 witnesses will warn the world, and the 3 angels will be seen flying across the sky preaching the gospel. And as a result, the greatest revival will take place, the likes of which the world has never seen will take place. So yes, there will be people that will come to know the Lord during the Great Tribulation. However, living with the plan that you will be one of them is wrong. Today is the day the Lord has come. Seek him today, for we know not what tomorrow holds.